In the previous modules, we talked about gender power, gender and power. And now we want to discuss language and power. This topic is different. To understand a relation between language and power, we discuss views of Chomsky on this topic. Liberalism, I would introduce Chomsky. He's an American philosopher, thinker, linguist, political analyst, versatile personality. No need to introduce him. He is so famous all over the world. So we will discuss this topic of language and power on the basis of his views that he expressed in an interview. That's why I have said that we will discuss in light of Chomsky's views. The term that we need to understand first is liberalism and neoliberalism. It refers to, both terms are almost the same. This term refers to support for rights of individuals against rights of the coercive states. Coercive states which are not willing to give any right to individuals. Awam ka koi haq nahi hai. So, liberalism says that awam, individuals, masses, they too have their rights. So this is an ideology, this is a thinking that supports rights of individuals against the rights of coercive, despotic, totalitarian, dictatorial states, जिनको आप कहते हैं आमराना जो हुकूमतें होती हैं. The followers of this thought, liberalists, they are against state intervention in public life of individuals. Actually, this is the problem with this thought, this liberalism, that they do talk about individual and their rights, but they go to the next extreme. They don't accept any kind of intervention of the state. They exclude state. This thinking introduced the concept of public life and private life. And you might have heard often people saying that ये मेरा private मामला है, नमाज पढ़ूँ ना पढ़ूँ, माँ बाप की मैं अदब करूँ ना करूँ, इसमें आप कुछ नहीं कह सकते, मुझे आप बाउंड नहीं कर सकते. So such kind of thinking is a result of this liberalism. Everything we do in life, whatever we are doing, we are using language. If you minus language from our activities, we are statues. We are living human beings because of language. We define terms in language. For example, whenever we talk, we use certain terms, and before defining those terms, we cannot talk about them. So the first thing is definition, and definitions are done through language. For example, we want to define democracy, terrorism, human rights, so on. We define these terms differently for us and for them. This is the issue. This is where power is involved. For us means for our purposes, and for them means for other people minus us. अपने लिए और डेफिनेशन, दूसरों के लिए और डेफिनेशन. So this difference of us and them, you will find it in books on discourse analysis and many other books of linguistics. So this is familiar to you, and if not, you should know this from this module. So Chomsky's point of view is that even when we define terms, we define them differently. We define them in two ways, one for our purposes and one for the others. This is his photograph. So, language is used in ways that supports our struggle for power over others. This is how we can manipulate language for power purposes. Okay, you might be thinking how language can become a source of power. We will move towards that point, but let's see, the second thing that supports power is dominant culture. So first thing is language, and second, the dominant culture. Power struggle is also seen in dominant languages. Okay, so there is language, and language gets power from culture, and this language with culture can be used to gain power over others. Language of the rich and the powerful countries is the dominant language. So, how language gets power? It gets power from the state, from the powerful country. If the country is powerful, that country's language is powerful. Same applies to language of the elites in a society, because they are the powerful segment of the society, their language is also powerful. The state chooses which language is dominant. Who decides that this language will be a dominant language of this country, of this state? This will be used for all public purposes. Who decides this? The state. So it leads to gradual death of many languages. Those languages which are expelled from public affairs, and everywhere we find a dominant language, so the result is very bad. The result is that other languages, they go out of use and gradually they die, khatam ho jati hai, as we are doing with Punjabi. And that's why government these days is making many efforts to save this language from this kind of death, because we don't use it in even in our homes and in teaching, in classrooms, etc. This is nowhere. So this is what this point says. It is these states that are responsible for language endangerment. In sociolinguistics, this term is very common. There is language loss, language death, and some languages are under threat of extinction. वो खत्म होने जा रही हैं. They are endangered languages. Who is responsible? So Chomsky says states themselves are responsible when they impose one language over all other languages. The states impose a language. Why? To connect all parts of the states. That language is used as lingua franca, as common mode of communication, common means of communication. Language of contact among different parts of the states where different languages are spoken. So a common language is promoted, and it is rather imposed by the state. So now, through this language, the only purpose is not to unite all parts and components of the state. Another purpose that goes along with it is to promote state's ideology. We conclude from this introductory talk about language and power in this module that languages get power from states. A language gets power when it is used as lingua franca. Lingua franca means language of contact.